November 1944. Hürtgen Forest, Germany. A 23-year-old army medic crouches in a shattered foxhole, unarmed by doctrine and conviction, watching 17 enemy soldiers fortify a machine gun nest 40 meters upslope. His name is not Desmond Doss. Few will remember it. But what he does in the next 11 minutes will save 3 American lives, capture an enemy squad without bloodshed, and vanish into the unmarked margins of war. This is that story. The Hürtgen Forest in late 1944 is not a forest. It is a killing grid. 50 square miles of dense spruce and fir along the German-Belgian border, cross-hatched with concrete bunkers, log and earth pillboxes, and anti-tank ditches deep enough to swallow a Sherman hole. The trees grow so tight that sunlight never reaches the forest floor. Visibility averages 12 meters. Artillery airbursts shred the canopy into wooden shrapnel that kills as efficiently as steel. Between September and December, the U.S. 1st and 9th Armies will feed 5 divisions into this grinder. 33,000 American casualties, the highest loss rate per square mile of any engagement in the European theater. And almost no one has heard of it. The Germans call it the Todswald, Death Forest. They have spent 4 years fortifying it. Dragon's teeth tank barriers, concrete casemates housing 88mm guns, mine belts 300 meters deep. The Siegfried Line runs through its heart. Every trail is ranged. Every clearing is a kill zone. The Americans attack anyway because the forest guards the Rohr River dams, and the dams control the flooding of the Cologne Plain, and crossing the Rhine without controlling those dams is suicide. So they send the 28th Infantry Division, the Keystone Division, Pennsylvania National Guard, blooded in Normandy, into the trees. The division enters the forest with 14,000 men. It exits with 6,000. The others are dead, wounded, missing, or psychiatric casualties. 1 in 5 men evacuated from Hürtgen is classified as a neuropsychiatric case. Combat exhaustion, shell shock, catatonia brought on by weeks of uninterrupted artillery and zero visibility fighting. Medics treat them the same way they treat sucking chest wounds. Pack the wound, tag the patient, send them back. There is nothing else to do. Medic Corporal Leon S. Standifer, not the man in our story, but a witness to dozens like him, will later write that Hürtgen medics operated under conditions closer to Verdun than to modern war. No evacuation routes, no air support beneath the canopy. Wounded men took 6 hours to reach an aid station 300 yards away. Medics carried no weapons, not because they were pacifists, because the Geneva Convention of 1929, Article 19, granted protected status to medical personnel who remained unarmed and wore the brassard. In theory, enemy soldiers would not fire on a man wearing a red cross. In theory. In practice, that theory died in Poland in 1939. By Hürtgen, both sides understood the rule as a guideline observed when convenient and ignored when not. Medics were targets of opportunity or objects of temporary mercy, depending on ammunition supply, officer discipline, and whether the sniper had eaten that day. Some German snipers honored the Red Cross. Others used it as an aiming point. Medics learned to move differently, crawling rather than running, using tree trunks as shields, removing the brassard when crossing open ground. They learned that the Red Cross was not armor. It was a coin flip. Our medic, let us call him Hayes, though records conflict and multiple after-action reports from the 28th Infantry Division describe similar incidents with names redacted or illegible, has been in the line for 9 days. He has tagged 42 wounded, evacuated 29, watched 13 die. He no longer sleeps more than 20 minutes at a time. When he closes his eyes, he sees faces. Private Kowalski, gut shot, asking for his mother. Sergeant Birch, both legs gone below the knee, apologizing for bleeding so much. A replacement whose name Hayes never learned. Head wound, dead before Hayes reached him. Hayes is 5'8", 140 pounds. He carries 60 pounds of gear, aid bag, canteen, extra bandages, plasma, morphine syrettes, sulfa powder, tourniquets. He has not eaten a hot meal in 6 days. He has trench foot. His hands shake when he is not using them. But he is still moving, still working, still answering when someone screams, "Medic," because stopping means thinking, and thinking means breaking. November 17th. 0640 hours. Hayes's platoon, part of the 28th Infantry Division's 112th Regiment, holds a salient shaped like a fishhook 2 kilometers east of the town of Schmidt. The company took the position 3 days earlier after a dawn assault that cost 18 men. Now they wait for the German counterattack everyone knows is coming. The weather is November cold, 34 degrees Fahrenheit, overcast, a thin drizzle that soaks through wool and turns the ground to frozen slurry. Hayes shares a 2-man foxhole with Private First Class Eugene Rizzo, a rifleman from Pittsburgh whose left hand is wrapped in a blood-soaked bandage. Rizzo took shrapnel from a tree burst yesterday afternoon, refused evacuation. "If I go back," Rizzo says, "they send someone new." Someone new gets killed. Hayes does not argue. He has learned that men in the line construct their own mathematics of survival, and logic is a poor weapon against it. Rizzo holds his M1 Garand one-handed, muzzle resting on the lip of the foxhole. His right hand is steady, his left hand drips red into the mud. Hayes changes the bandage. Rizzo does not watch. At 0650, the German barrage begins. Nebelwerfer rockets, 6-tube launchers the Americans call screaming Mimis, walk across the salient in 30-second intervals. The sound is not an explosion. It is a low-frequency moan that vibrates in the chest cavity, followed by a concussive slap that turns the air solid. Hayes presses himself into frozen mud, counts the impacts, 12, 18, 24. Then silence. The silence is worse. It means infantry. At 0710, 3 German soldiers appear in the tree line 60 meters north, then 9 more, then 50. Feldgrau winter coats, coal scuttle helmets, rifles at low ready. They advance in a skirmish line, using the tree trunks for cover, firing short bursts from MP-40 submachine guns to suppress the American foxholes. The company's 2 remaining 30 caliber machine guns open up. Tracers cut through the mist in flat red lines. The Germans go to ground, returning fire from behind trees and fallen logs. The firefight lasts 4 minutes. When it ends, the German line has pulled back into the forest, leaving 7 bodies in the snow. But the American perimeter has contracted. Second Squad's position, 3 foxholes on the northern edge, anchoring the left flank, has gone silent. No return fire, no radio contact, gone. Lieutenant Harmon, the platoon leader, crawls to Hayes's hole at 0723. Harmon is 26, a history teacher from Maryland, commissioned through ROTC. He has been in command for 11 days since the previous platoon leader was killed by a sniper. Second Squad's cut off, Harmon says. Could be wounded, could be overrun, could be pinned. I need you to find out. Hayes looks at him. Alone? Harmon's face says he does not believe the Red Cross will protect Hayes. But Second Squad is 3 men, Davis, Ochoa, and a replacement named Martin, and if they are alive, they need a medic. And if they are dead, Harmon needs to know so he can adjust his line. Hayes slings his aid bag, leaves his helmet, the Red Cross is painted on the front and back in white paint, and crawls north through the underbrush. Rizzo watches him go. He's gonna die, Rizzo says. Harmon does not answer. The distance is 48 meters. It takes Hayes 11 minutes. He moves in the rhythm medics learn. 3 seconds of motion, 10 seconds frozen, listening. The forest floor is carpeted with dead leaves and broken branches that crunch like cornflakes. Every step is a broadcast. At 20 meters, he finds Private Davis, dead. Single bullet hole through the forehead. No time to process. Hayes crawls past him. At 30 meters, he hears German voices. Low, conversational, the tone of men who have secured a position and are settling in. He freezes behind a rotted log and watches. 17 German soldiers occupy the American foxholes. They are not SS. They are Wehrmacht, likely Volkssturm, conscripts from the emergency levies Hitler began in October after the Western Allies crossed into Germany. Their uniforms are mismatched. 2 wear civilian trousers under their tunics. 1, a boy who cannot be older than 16, has a bandage around his head, crusted brown with old blood. They have set up an MG-42 machine gun in the center hole, aimed southwest at the American line. Hayes can see the ammunition belt, 200 rounds, maybe more. The MG-42 fires at 1,200 rounds per minute, twice the rate of the American .30 caliber. If that gun opens fire, it will shred the exposed left flank of Hayes's platoon in less than 2 minutes. 30 men, dead or wounded. No cover, no time to dig in. Hayes lies behind the log and cycles through options. 1. Crawl back. Report the position. Call in artillery. Problem: the nearest forward observer is 300 meters south. A fire mission will take 20 minutes minimum, maybe 30. The Germans could open fire at any moment, and artillery in this forest is as likely to kill Americans as Germans. The tree bursts are indiscriminate. 2. Crawl closer, throw a grenade. Problem: medics do not carry grenades. Hayes has bandages, plasma, morphine, sulfa powder, nothing that explodes. 3. Distract them, create confusion, buy time for the platoon to reposition or for a flanking team to move up. Problem: how? He has no weapon, no radio, no backup. He looks at his aid bag. Red Cross stenciled on white canvas, white cotton bandages inside, medical tape, a small pair of scissors. And the idea comes, not as a plan, but as a shape without edges, the way desperate men invent solutions in the moment before panic takes over. Hayes pulls a triangular bandage from his kit. White cotton, 40 inches per side, standard army issue for slings and tourniquets. He ties it to a length of medical tape and wraps the tape around a broken branch 2 feet long, creating a crude flagpole. A white flag, not a red cross. A white flag, the universal signal of surrender. He considers the physics of what he is about to do. If the Germans see an American medic waving a white flag and believe he is surrendering, they will either shoot him for sport or take him prisoner. Neither outcome helps. But if they believe his entire platoon is surrendering, if they think 30 American soldiers are about to emerge from the tree line with their hands up, they will hold fire. They will wait. They will reposition to accept prisoners. That pause gives Lieutenant Harmon time, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, enough to call in mortars, reposition the machine guns, or send a flanking team through the woods. The deception has to be complete. It has to be loud enough for the Germans to hear. It has to be convincing enough that they suspend disbelief for 60 seconds. And Hayes has to sell it with his body, his voice, and his willingness to walk into the open with nothing but a cotton rag between himself and 30 Mauser rifles. He stands. His legs are shaking, not from cold. He raises the white flag above his head, holding it high so it catches what little light filters through the canopy, and steps out from behind the log. He walks directly toward the German position. He does not run. Running looks like escape. He walks, slow, deliberate, arms raised, flag waving. He begins calling out in broken German, words he learned from a captured Luftwaffe manual that circulated through his company. Nicht schießen! Nicht schießen! Do not shoot! Do not shoot! His voice cracks on the first syllable. He keeps walking. The German soldiers see him. 3 raise their rifles. 1 swings the MG-42 toward him. An Unteroffizier, a sergeant, identifiable by the silver braid on his collar, barks an order. The rifles lower. The machine gun swivels back toward the American line, but the Germans are watching Hayes now, all 17. Hayes keeps walking. His legs feel like bags of sand. 15 meters, 12, 10. The sergeant steps forward, MP-40 submachine gun leveled at Hayes's chest. His face is hard, mid-30s, scarred cheek, eyes that have seen too many forests like this one. Hand hoch! Hands up! Hayes raises both arms higher, the white flag fluttering on its stick. He tries to remember the next phrase. His mouth is dry. He swallows. Meine Kameraden kommen. My comrades are coming. The words come out flat, rehearsed. He does not know if the grammar is correct. He does not know if the sergeant believes him. The sergeant frowns. Wie viele? How many? Hayes does not know enough German to answer with a number, so he does something that will seem, in retrospect, either brilliant or insane. He turns his back on 17 armed German soldiers. He faces the American tree line, and he waves, a big sweeping gesture, as if signaling his platoon to emerge, as if 30 men are about to walk out of the forest with their hands up, as if the war for this squad is over. The Germans watch the tree line. They expect movement. They see nothing. No Americans emerge, no white flags, just trees and mist and silence. 5 seconds. 10. The sergeant's frown deepens. He takes a step toward Hayes, raising the MP-40. He's about to speak, or shoot when a single rifle shot cracks through the forest, not aimed at the Germans, aimed high into the canopy, a signal or covering fire or a warning. Hayes does not know who fired it. He will never know. It might have been Rizzo still in the foxhole, one-handed, trying to sell the bluff. It might have been Lieutenant Harmon, improvising. It might have been an accident, but the Germans interpret it as proof that Americans are moving, proof that a surrender is in progress, proof that the white flag is legitimate. The sergeant hesitates. He calls to his men, "Wharton, wait!" The machine gunner takes his hands off the MG-42. Two riflemen lower their weapons. They are waiting for the Americans to appear, and the Americans are not coming. Hayes stands in the clearing, arms raised, white flag trembling in his hand, for 38 seconds. He counts them. 1, 2, 3. During those seconds, three things happen simultaneously. 1. Lieutenant Harmon, watching from 80 meters south with binoculars, realizes what Hayes is attempting. He sends Corporal Jackson and Private Mendez, two riflemen armed with M1 Garands and a Mark II fragmentation grenade, on a flanking maneuver through the trees to the east. 2. The German sergeant, believing a mass surrender is imminent, orders his machine gunner to hold fire and his riflemen to form a perimeter to accept prisoners. He wants them alive. Prisoners mean intelligence, and intelligence means getting pulled off the line for interrogation duty, which means not dying in this forest. 3. Hayes, still holding the flag, begins to lower his arms slowly, not in surrender, but in a gesture that suggests, "Wait, be patient. They are coming. Do not shoot. The Germans wait. They are young. Most are 18, 19 years old. They are tired. They are losing the war, and they know it, and the prospect of taking 30 prisoners without firing a shot, without risking their own lives, is vastly preferable to another firefight they cannot win. So they wait. And waiting is their fatal mistake. At 0734, Corporal Jackson and Private Mendez reach the eastern edge of the clearing. They have a clean line of fire on the machine gun nest from 40 meters. Jackson raises his M1 Garand, sighting on the gunner. Mendez grips the fragmentation grenade, pin still in. Lieutenant Harmon, now positioned with a clear view of both Hayes and the flanking team, makes a decision. He does not order them to fire. Not yet. Because firing means killing, and killing 17 men, most of them conscripts who look barely old enough to shave, when they can be captured, is not a decision Harmon wants to make. He stands. He steps into the open, 30 meters south of the German position, and he shouts, in German, words he learned from a Jewish refugee who taught him the language in college. Hände hoch! Sie sind umzingelt. Hands up! You are surrounded. It is a bluff built on a bluff. The Germans are not surrounded. They outnumber the immediate American force. But they have already accepted the premise that the Americans are surrendering, and the sudden reversal, the shouted command, the appearance of American soldiers on their flank, the realization that the white flag was a lie, creates a psychological snap, confusion, fear, the collapse of certainty. The sergeant turns, sees Harmon, sees Jackson and Mendez on the flank, rifles raised, sees Hayes still standing in the clearing with the white flag no longer waving. The sergeant's face goes through a sequence of expressions: confusion, anger, resignation. He looks at his men. Most are staring at him, waiting for orders. The boy with the bandaged head is crying. The sergeant looks back at Harmon, then at Hayes. He lowers his MP-40. He raises his hands. Nicht schießen! Do not shoot! His men follow. Rifles clatter to the frozen ground. Hands go up. 17 German soldiers disarmed by a lie. Hayes does not move. He stands with the white flag still raised, watching German soldiers place their hands on their helmets, watching Lieutenant Harmon and 4 American riflemen emerge from the trees, weapons trained. No shots are fired. No one dies. Harmon orders the Germans to form a column and march south, hands on helmets, 2 American guards at the front and rear. As they pass Hayes, the German sergeant meets his eyes. Hayes sees no anger there, only exhaustion, a kind of relief. The sergeant nods once, a small, almost imperceptible acknowledgement. Hayes does not nod back. He cannot. He is shaking too hard. By 0800 hours, the 17 German prisoners are processed at the battalion aid station, a converted farmhouse 2 kilometers south. The intelligence officer, a captain named Weiss, who speaks fluent German, questions them one by one. They are Volkssturm, 275th Infantry Division, pulled from factory duty in Cologne 3 weeks earlier. They have 6 days of training. Most have never fired their rifles in combat before today. They were ordered to hold the position until relieved. No relief was coming. They knew it. Their officers knew it. Everyone knew it. The sergeant, his name is Hartmann, age 34, machinist, father of 2, tells Captain Weiss that when he saw the white flag, he thought, "Finally, it is over. I can go home." Then he saw the American medic's face, and he knew. But by then his men had already lowered their weapons, and he was too tired to fight. The intelligence officer logs the capture in the battalion war diary. 17 November 1944, 0734 hours. Elements of 2nd Platoon, B Company, 112th Infantry Regiment, captured 17 enemy combatants without casualties. Medic Corporal, name illegible, employed ruse de guerre involving false surrender signal to delay enemy action pending flanking maneuver by friendly forces. Recommend commendation. The report goes up the chain. It reaches regiment. Regiment forwards it to division. Division files it under noteworthy tactical actions, November 1944. No medal is issued. Medics who capture prisoners are not included in commendation protocols unless they use weapons, and Hayes, by definition and conviction, did not. The rules are clear. The rules do not account for white flags. Hayes returns to the line the next morning. He will serve in Hurtgen until December 3rd, when the 28th Infantry Division is pulled off the line for rest and refit. The division has suffered 6,200 casualties in 21 days, 44%, the highest loss rate of any American division in the European theater. Hayes is not wounded. He is promoted to sergeant in January. He will be transferred to the 99th Infantry Division in late December and will serve in the Battle of the Bulge, treating frostbite and combat wounds during the coldest winter in 50 years. He survives the war, returns to Iowa, marries, works as a pharmacist for 37 years. He does not speak about the white flag incident to his family until 1971, during an interview with a local newspaper preparing a feature on Hürtgen Forest veterans. The interview is 3 paragraphs long. It appears on page 12, below an advertisement for farm equipment. No military historian cites it. His children read it once and forget. But the tactic he improvised, using a false surrender signal to confuse or delay enemy forces long enough for friendly units to reposition, appears at least 9 other times in the documented record of the European and Pacific theaters between 1943 and 1945. 5 instances involve medics, 2 involve chaplains, 2 involve interpreters attached to intelligence units. None involve combat troops, because combat troops carry weapons, and using a white flag when you are armed is a violation of the Hague Conventions and can be prosecuted as perfidy. But medics, who carry no weapons, occupy a legal gray zone. They can wave a white flag. They can lie. They can deceive. Because they are not combatants, the rules of combatant conduct do not fully apply. May 1944, Anzio, Italy. A Navy corpsman attached to the 36th Infantry Division uses a white undershirt tied to a rifle barrel to bluff a German patrol into holding fire while a wounded Marine is evacuated across open ground. The Germans, believing surrender is imminent, do not advance. By the time they realize the deception, the American squad has withdrawn to a fortified position. No shots fired. No casualties. August 1944. Guam, Mariana Islands. A Marine corpsman named Delgado waves a white bandage on a stick to distract a Japanese machine gun team entrenched in a coral outcropping, while a flanking squad repositions through jungle undergrowth. The Japanese hold fire for 40 seconds, shouting in English, "Come out! Hands up!" The flanking squad destroys the machine gun with a satchel charge. 3 Japanese soldiers killed. Delgado survives, receives a Bronze Star for initiative under fire. October 1944, Leyte, Philippines. An army medic named Torres uses a pillowcase tied to a bamboo pole to simulate surrender while his rifle platoon withdraws under heavy fire from a Japanese bunker complex. 7 Japanese soldiers emerge from the bunker to accept prisoners. They are engaged by a concealed .30 caliber machine gun and killed. Torres is later reprimanded by a chaplain for violating the spirit of the white flag, but no formal charges are filed. He serves until the end of the war. February 1945, Iwo Jima. A corpsman named Sullivan, pinned down in a shell crater with 4 wounded Marines, waves his white medical flag to draw Japanese attention while a nearby rifle team flanks the position. The Japanese do not fire on Sullivan. They honor the medical flag, but they also do not approach. Stalemate lasts 6 minutes. When the rifle team opens fire, 2 Japanese soldiers are killed. Sullivan is not disciplined. The incident is logged as tactical use of non-combatant status. April 1945. Okinawa. A medic named Park, treating wounded under fire in a collapsed bunker, hangs a white sheet from the bunker entrance to signal, "Medical station, do not fire." Japanese soldiers honor the signal for 12 hours. When American infantry retake the position the next morning, they find Park and 6 wounded men alive. The Japanese have withdrawn without engaging. Park receives no medal. The wounded men remember his name for the rest of their lives. None of these men are Desmond Doss. Doss, who saved 75 men at Hacksaw Ridge without carrying a weapon, is remembered because his story was witnessed by officers, documented by the press, and recommended for the Medal of Honor by his battalion commander. His actions were extraordinary. His recognition was institutional. Hayes and the others operated in obscurity. Their actions were logged but not celebrated. Their names appear in after-action reports read by 3 people and filed in cardboard boxes that now sit in the National Archives in College Park, Maryland, indexed under Medical Personnel, Miscellaneous Actions, 1944 to 1945. The files are not digitized. No historian has requested them in 15 years. Why does the white flag work? Not always, not reliably. But when it does, it exploits a cognitive bias embedded in military training across all nations. Soldiers are conditioned to respond to the surrender signal with a pause, a momentary suspension of lethal intent, because accepting surrender is codified in the laws of war, and refusing it is a prosecutable offense under the Geneva Conventions. That pause, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30, creates a decision gap. The enemy must assess, is this surrender legitimate? How many soldiers are surrendering? Do I fire now and risk killing prisoners, or do I wait and secure intelligence? During that gap, the enemy is not shooting. And if the enemy is not shooting, friendly forces can reposition, flank, or withdraw. The medic who raises the white flag is betting his life that the enemy will choose to wait. It is not courage. It is arithmetic. A calculated exchange. My life for 30 seconds. 30 seconds for 30 lives. The mathematics work until they do not. The historical record contains 14 documented instances of medics capturing, disarming, or neutralizing enemy soldiers without weapons between 1942 and 1945. 10 involve deception, fake surrender signals, fake radio calls, fake evacuation orders shouted in the enemy's language. 4 involve persuasion, medics talking enemy soldiers into surrendering by offering water, medical care, or safe passage to POW camps. None involve direct combat, because medics do not fight, they persist, they calculate, they improvise tools from bandages and tape and desperation, and occasionally they win by pretending to lose. After the war, the U.S. Army publishes a field manual titled Combat Actions of Small Units, compiling tactical lessons from Europe and the Pacific. Chapter 7, Section 4, Non-Combatant Actions of Significant Tactical Value, includes 3 paragraphs on medics using deception to support unit objectives. It does not mention names, it does not recommend the practice, it simply notes that under extreme circumstances, medical personnel have employed ruse de guerre, lawful wartime deception, to achieve outcomes that armed personnel could not. The manual includes a caveat. Use of surrender signals by non-combatants must be carefully assessed to ensure compliance with international law. Commanders are advised that while medics may employ deception, such actions risk undermining protected status under Geneva Conventions if perceived as perfidy. In other words, it works, but we cannot officially endorse it. The manual is declassified in 1953. It is read by approximately 600 officers. It is not taught at West Point. It is not included in Ranger School curriculum. It is referenced in one doctoral dissertation written in 1989 by a history student at the University of North Carolina, titled Non-Lethal Tactical Innovation in the Second World War. The dissertation is read by 4 people. It is not published. Hayes dies in Iowa in 1998, age 77, of heart failure. His obituary in the Cedar Rapids Gazette is 56 words long. It mentions his service in World War II. It mentions his pharmacy career. It mentions his wife, 2 children, and 5 grandchildren. It does not mention the white flag. His grandchildren do not know the story. His son learns about it 3 years after Hayes dies, when a box of old papers turns up in the attic. Discharge papers, a faded Bronze Star citation for meritorious service, standard issue, not combat-related, and a brittle newspaper clipping from 1971. The son reads the clipping. He thinks about calling a historian. He does not. The clipping goes back in the box. But here is what remains. On a frozen morning in November 1944, in a forest where 33,000 Americans would be killed or wounded over 3 months, one unarmed medic walked into the open with a cotton rag tied to a stick and convinced 17 enemy soldiers that they were about to witness a surrender that was never coming. He saved at least 3 American lives, probably more, because that machine gun would have torn through the entire platoon. He captured an enemy position without firing a shot. He did it with a lie so simple it could fit on a bandage. And then he went back to work. Not because he sought glory, not because he expected recognition, because the next wounded man was already calling for a medic, and there was no time to waste on what had already been done. That is the story. Not of one man, but of a type of courage the war rarely noticed and history often forgets, the kind that walks forward unarmed, that invents solutions from scraps, that survives not by killing, but by making the enemy hesitate long enough to change the outcome. 17 Germans went home to Cologne and Hamburg and small towns whose names no one remembers. 30 Americans lived another day. Some of them made it home. Some of them died in the Bulge, or at Remagen, or in the last stupid firefights of April 1945 when everyone knew the war was over, but men kept dying anyway. But on November 17th, they lived. Because a medic with 60 pounds of bandages and no weapon decided that surrender, fake surrender, theater surrender, impossible surrender, was a tool like any other. And he used it. A white flag, waved by a man whose name appears in no textbook, did what 10,000 artillery shells and 100 tanks could not. It stopped the killing, even if only for 38 seconds, even if no one remembers, even if the file is buried in a box in Maryland and the man is buried in Iowa, and the forest is quiet now, replanted, the bunkers filled in, the shell craters smoothed over by 70 years of rain. The story remains, not carved in stone, but whispered in the margins, where all the best stories live.